Recording in progress.
Live on County Channel. We left off on the agenda. The first item we will discuss tonight is revisit motion to table impact fee discussion. So, Ms. Fisher?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Yes, I did ask for this topic to be taken off the table to revisit the discussion on impact fees. When the board voted to table this discussion, that was Friday, April 22nd. On Monday, April 25th, the Beaufort County Council repealed school impact fees. I believe that it is crucial that we have a conversation about impact fees. This board voted unanimously to have impact fees as state statute allows. And I'm mostly interested in the discussion being around what our next steps can be. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So I move that the discussion on impact fees be taken off the table.
I'll second that. Anyone else?
Dr. Watts, did you have a question? No more. Okay, Ms. Boatright?
Thank you. Kathy, I can't hear you. Tricia came through quite clearly, but you are not. And maybe it's just me.
Okay,
There you are. I was just letting you
is
know.
it better now?
Yeah.
Okay,
I did second
so is
that
that
motion.
why you,
I don't know if anyone else did. I couldn't hear.
okay, so is there any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Okay, Tina, Dr. Glatz? Glatz, can you hear us? We are experiencing a little technical difficulty. We will hold for a minute to see if we can get it resolved. And I. Okay, so at this time, there doesn't appear to be any discussion, so we will vote on the motion. The motion is that I move that the discussion of impact fees be taken off the table. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Ingrid said aye, Dr. Guad said aye. Is David, did you say aye?
Said aye.
Okay, so that would be 10-0 with Dr. Wisniewski absent. Please.
So, Madam Vice Chair, I'm not really sure of the procedure now, so whether the discussion ensues at this time or whether it will be at the next meeting. So I'm not positive. I don't know that staff is prepared to talk about next steps on impact fees. You know, where we should go with this. I'm not sure. I definitely want it at least at a minimum at our next board meeting. Okay, does
that make sense to give help in the development of that? Colonel Geyer? Oh, Mr. Stribinger?
Thank you. I think it does make sense to have this at the next agenda, but I think before we do that, I think we need to be real specific on what are we looking for. I heard Trish say next steps. Is there something other than, which is really a logical thing to talk about, but is there something else that we're aiming for that the staff needs to get ready?
Ms. Fidrich?
Thank you, Mrs. Stribinger. We voted as a board unanimously for impact fees. The county council repealed impact fees. So as far as next steps, I don't know what our options are. So I'm looking to see what are our options. How do we get it back in front of county council? What kind of time frame would that be? What would we have to do to get it back in front of county council and have a conversation about it? So those types of things, Mr. Stribinger.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other ideas?
Christina Guads.
Okay. Dr.
Join the
Watts?
meeting.
Tina, did you have any other ideas? Okay. Tina, are you in? Bill Campbell?
Point of order, Kathy, I can't hear there. Okay. I couldn't hear it.
Discussion let,
Okay,
can you hear me now?
Yeah, it sounded like the audio went out. If it's just me, but it sounded like the audio for the whole thing went out for a little bit. So just FYI.
okay. You'll just have to let us know because we are not aware of it. Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, and we discussed the documentation supporting the information on in the letter, and I think one of the points we can start at is providing that documentation in a support letter as a concrete argument for our support of the impact fee. I mean, it's clear that we have supported it, but it's not documented in terms of a formal document. So that would be one of the points I think we could start at.
Anyone else have any ideas? Okay. So at this point, we will send it to the administration to help us determine next steps, focusing on Ms. Fidrich's point and Mr. Campbell's. How do we get it back before county council? Is that the next step? I mean, do we, if county council said the cogs were the other municipalities, I don't know. That's a question. Do we appeal to them again and say, can we talk you into this? Or can you listen to us and you can go back to county council? I think those are the types of things that perhaps we need some guidance on. Colonel Geyer?
This is a political issue.
Mm.
This is not an administrative issue. This is a political issue, and we have to get the county council and us together to talk about a solution. In my mind, what happened was county council got out ahead of the communities and their intergovernmental agreement. And I think perhaps they thought that by setting up the impact fees on the unincorporated, it would provide impetus to the communities to get a intergovernmental agreement. But it's a much, much bigger issue. And I think politically, we have to ensure that we are included in the discussion, and we have to ensure that when and if, well, not if, but when impact fees are reinstituted, that we are included. So to me, my recommendation would be for the chair, and you can pick somebody, or it could be the legislative committee or something, have a meeting with the county council counterparts and this work out this political issue.
Dr. Glatz? Tina, you're muted. Okay, try now.
Are you able to hear me?
Now we
I'm
can.
not.
Just then, when, are you
Yeah.
able to hear me? We heard that. Okay. So
Can you
you're
hear
on.
me?
Yes.
So Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like she can't. hear
Okay,
me.
thanks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you can hear me through my phone or through the computer. But if you,
It's your
I
phone.
concur with, okay, it's my phone. All right. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. I concur with what Colonel Geyer just said. I definitely think there's a number of things that I see problematic. It seems to me, having attended the Bluffton Town Council meeting in February of this year, and having read the newspaper articles, the Island Packet article that was published, let's see here, on it was updated on April 27th, and the title of that was Beaufort County Council Repeals School Fees, Money Going Back to Property Owners. And then also reading the Bluffton Sun, which is article on April 19, 2022. There seems to be a great deal of misunderstanding about school impact fees. I don't think the media nor some of the administrative and elected officials of other bodies, i.e. councils, really understand what these are. You know, there's been quotes that they're double taxation, and there's been a link that they're linked to the 2019 school bond referendum and that we're double billing, and that is absolutely not correct. The school impact fees, when they're developed, took into account the referendum dollars so that there would not be double billing to the to those that were paying the fees. And there's also this misunderstanding that this is somehow repetitive or repetitive billing. And I'm not sure if that was a comment Mr. Cunningham made, and other council members agreed with him. And I don't understand that comment. They're not repetitive. They're absolutely separate and distinct from the school bond referendum of 2019. I do think it's a political issue. I think also what Mr. Geyer said, that I think that county administrator thought by having the unincorporated areas of Beaufort County sign on to the impact fees, that would sort of twist the arm of the municipalities, i.e. Bluffton and Hilton Head especially, because and Hardyville, but that didn't happen. They certainly, Bluffton dragged its feet, and I just don't understand how we can not have the areas of the county that are having this rapid growth, and we absolutely need capacity increasing facilities on schools in those areas, i.e. new schools or additional classrooms that are not covered in our current referendum. And I would be happy to be involved with this, or however David Stribbinger wants to arrange it. Did you hear all that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Stribinger?
Thank you. Yeah, I did hear that, and of course I agree. And there's all kinds of storylines to this. When Dick and I went to that meeting with the county council and the mayors, we saw that there are quite a few agendas at work. But I agree, we need to sit down and get a straight answer from county council. There's just no doubt about that. We need to get a straight answer from them, and we need to be very clear on our position. And one of the answers we got was it was because the towns weren't signing the IGA. That argument kind of falls apart when you look at the actions of rescinding the school board, but not rescinding the others. And the explanation was they didn't rescind the others because they're hoping to get the IGAs worked out. That kind of casts a doubt on the legitimacy of that being why they got rid of the school impact fees. So we do need to sit down with them and certainly attempt to get a straight answer and just get it out on the table and see what we can do, if there's anything we can do. I mean, one of the problems, of course, is by statute, the county has to carry this forward. We can't. We make our recommendation, but they have to carry it forward. So I think the next step may be to set up a meeting. But I would, before we set that meeting up, I would like some legal advice on some of the things, what options might be available to us. Like, can they unrescind? I don't know if that's possible. Another question I had was I read that they were going to return the money to the property owners, and Tischler Bice was very specific that the money had to go back to the people that paid it, which were the developers. And I notice everyone wants to dance around this fact that the developers pay the impact fee. Everybody doesn't seem to want to talk about that. So all those things probably need to get out on the table in a meeting with county council. And I'll be glad to try to set something up.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Smith?
In terms of the meeting, I think that once again, I'll say this, I think that both boards should meet with county council, but I definitely agree with the part with the fact about getting some legal some legal advice. I think that is a that's a very important step to figure out how we can resolve it. But more so, I think that it shouldn't be just a couple people going to meet with a couple people from their board. I think it should be board to board and understanding, and that's just that's my philosophy on things, so that everyone understands it and everyone's there. And sometimes they said that two heads are always better than one. So that's my stance on that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we move on. Ms. Crosby, did you? Okay.
So I agree that seeking legal counsel would probably be a very good idea on this. And there are a few legal counsels, from what I'm told, in the state who deal with impact fees. And I know that at least one of the groups is on your board approved list. So I'm seeking information about whether you would like it to be a board request for legal counsel, or you'd like administration to take that, make that step, and administratively. So I know there's been some distinction in the past, and I just want to see which way you'd like to go with that.
Okay. Tina?
Yes, thank you. Tanya, I think since it's a joint venture, but the board is the one that had to vote to bring the school impact fees forward to county council. So I think the legal representation should be for the board, primarily I guess you'd say the board first and the district second, although we're obviously have the same interests in this matter. And so we just need one legal group representing the two of us.
I'd like to make a
Were you
motion.
able to do that?
Yes. Perhaps I'm
Thank you.
not allowed to make a motion. Would someone else like to make a motion regarding this?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Would you like a motion? Yeah.
Yes. So I move that the Board of Education seek legal guidance on next steps for school impact fees since the County Council recently repealed school impact fees.
Trish Fidrick seconds it. Any discussion? I think it's appropriate, as Tina stated, that we voted for the impact fees. We hired the, Tischler Bice to do the study, and I think it's our responsibility to seek this legal advice. So I concur. Any other discussion? Okay. So call the question. The motion on the floor is that the Board of Education seek legal guidance for the next steps for school impact fees since County Council recently repealed school impact fees. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? And so I believe it passed 10-0. So next on our agenda is the fiscal year 22-23 proposed general fund budget. Ms. Crosby.
Thank you. Well, I am a little more clear-minded this morning or this evening than I was yesterday evening. So I'm glad I have to start a little earlier. That's great news. I'm not going to do a long presentation for you today. You've already received in our last meeting a lot of the details of our budget. I also want to mention that those presentations are on our website. We made sure, and the easiest way to get there is to go to the search engine and type in budget. And there's the top link is current fiscal year budget, and it will take you to the 3 or 4 presentations we've had so far over the last couple of months. After today's meeting, we'll get the handouts and today's presentation as well up on the site. So any viewing audience or anyone who wishes to search for that is welcome to do that on our website. Last night, one of the speakers in public comment mentioned about what is the problem we're trying to address? And so that kind of resonated with me. What is the budget trying to accomplish this year? And so the problem is recruiting and retention. And so that is the primary theme of this budget. The priority, the main goal of this is to address that issue of teachers, professionals, classified administrative staff as well. And so we believe that this budget recommendation does that. So on the first slide of the PowerPoint, I am going to just give kind of a little recap of our presentation on the prior meeting. And I just want to talk about first the employee compensation. So this is the first slide of the PowerPoint. Robin, if you could flip over to that, I'm sorry. And want to reiterate that this budget recommendation, the budget recommendation of staff administration is a $4,000 increase plus a step. And that is based on the original governor's recommendation and the original South Carolina House bill that was passed. This is also, I believe, on page 8 of the handouts, if you'd like to follow along through there. So I'll be referencing the handouts that we provided, and those provide a little more narrative detail of the items that I'm going to be referencing in the PowerPoint. So in addition to the teachers' $4,000 increase, we are proposing to add a 26th step to the teacher salary schedule. So it's 1 step. We do have some information on the costs of additional steps in the handout as well. But bus drivers are state mandated. There is a state mandated increase of 5%. There would be a step increase for that category of employees as well. And then all other employees would have a proposed to be a 3% increase, cost of living increase plus step. In anticipation of a classified and administrative salary study that will be brought to the board early in the next school year. So there'll be more information to come as that information becomes available from our outside consultant. Other increases in this budget are 24 positions. 22 of them are school-based positions, again listed in the handout, but teachers, there are certified teachers, interventionists, assistant principals, career development facilitators. We have special education teaching positions, some administrative support positions, and psychological and behavioral support as well. So the overall budget impact is for a $4 million increase at this time. So when in our last meeting, the board members requested some reductions in the current budget. They asked for us to sort of that's the April 22nd, I'm sorry. You don't have. Okay. All right. So it seems that you don't have the PowerPoint that I'm referring to. So would you help us get that to Robin, and somehow that didn't get to you. Reductions are so I'll just refer straight to the handouts, then that might be easier. On page 10 of the handouts is the list of reductions. There are instructional support, there are operational support, and those reductions are primarily in areas that requested increases in the budget. So we reduced based on historical spending. So we're not decreasing budgets unless there were requests to do so. There are reductions in the increased requests. So legal, food, travel, supplies, and other services, to name a few, in that category. And those amounted to about $800,000. In a reduction in personnel services of about $800,000 as well. And those are primarily due to the new funding model changes. The new funding model rolled a couple of funding sources into the general fund. However, we have some carryover that will last for 1 year. So that 1 year carryover, those staff may stay in those special revenue funds. So we are able to move that staffing back out to special revenue funds. So we're able to utilize those, maximize our utilization of special revenue, and reduce the impact on the general fund for this year. Also, there was last week or so, there was a new sport approved by the high school league. Anytime a new sport is approved at the high school level, there does seem to be some interest. I talked to the lead athletic director, and there was definitely some interest in several of our high schools. And so this budget supports about a $200,000 startup cost for stipends, startup equipment, and for a new sport that would be added to our high schools. In addition to that, we were asked to bring a sick leave payout program proposal. as well. So there is a placeholder in this budget of $1.5 million. This plan is to increase teacher retention, increase instructional time, and to reduce substitute teachers. And so that plan we have placed in $1.5 million into this budget, utilizing the savings in the other categories. So it's a net no impact in the total expenditure line from the previous version that you've originally seen. So the total budget, recommended budget remains at $297.1 million. So in addition to these reductions and the sick leave payout plan, those reductions were taken, we've provided a second model or a second option. So the items that I've just mentioned have been incorporated into both options. So the reductions and the sick leave payout plan addition are both in both options that are before you today. So the alternative budget proposal is a $2,000 teacher salary increase. And it is rolling the $2,500 of the locality supplement into the teacher salary schedule, which provides a savings of $3.2 million. Decreases our millage request to a 1.7 mil request. And the goal is really to, if this option is minimizing the taxpayer, minimizing the impact on taxpayer, and also to utilize, make stipends that we already have available to, or supplements that we already have available to teachers, moving them into a permanent status of the teacher salary schedule. So that does have a savings, and so is considered to be the alternate or option 2 proposal this evening. This slide is a summary of the 2023 increases that were on the screen before us today, and the only change from the original proposal is in the employee compensation line. It does bring that down by the savings of $3.2 million. So as you see there at the bottom, one proposal is a $297.1 million requested budget. The other is $293.9 million. It is in a PowerPoint that was provided, but the details are in a summary in the large sheet that I handed out to you just now. So one side is the original proposal and the far right is the alternate. So impact on the teacher, and I can probably just slip over to that main slide for you. We might as well move to the large handout. I think that might be best at this point. All right, so in your one-page handout, it is page 13, I believe. Let's see here. Page 12 of your handout. There are two options. The left is the original in blue and the alternate proposal is in the yellow orange color on the right. So just to walk through, I lined them up horizontally so that you could follow the same changes that were made throughout. So we begin with the current year budget of $274.3 million.
Ms. Crosby, can I just stop you for a minute?
Sure.
I see Dr. Glodz's hand is up and I just want to
Yes.
make sure she is
She's
hearing
following.
this.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So
Okay.
we don't have. Okay, go ahead. I found it now. Thank you.
It's on there.
All right.
So what Robin is displaying is what we're looking at. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So the increases in the budget are 22.9 million in both versions. You'll see the revisions that we just spoke about are the addition of the sick leave payout plan. The sick leave payout plan, we do not have a specific proposal for you this evening. I believe that it does need further conversation. There are several options we could go with, and I think it does need more research. This option provides the highest level of payout possible. And so if another alternative option were to be chosen, then the savings could shift over to the classified salary and classified salary study implementation. And so it would allow us to do either implement a little sooner or at a higher percentage, perhaps as a phase in for that plan. Additionally, there's the new sport provided by the high school league. The operational reductions and special revenue utilization are in both versions. The differences are in red on the right, and they are this. So this plan is a teacher salary increase of $2,000 and moves the $2,500 of locality into the base salary. So that would be a savings. The $2,000 is a $4.2 million savings. Rolling the $2,500 in would be retirement only. So retirement benefits are in the neighborhood of 22%, 23%. And so the cost of that is a retirement cost of $1 million to the district. So in that version, there is a $3.2 million savings in the total expenditure budget. So instead of a $4 million increase in the original, it would be reduced by 2.3 mils to a level of a request of 1.7. So just want to note that there are benefit pros and cons for both, and I've done my best at indicating which those are. They're more subjective, so those are. But I'm sure you all will have additional comments about which ones, other advantages or disadvantages of each of the versions. Basically, the new starting teacher salary in the original proposal is $43,066. The new base teacher salary in the alternative proposal is $500 greater. The new teacher salary in the original proposal with all compensation included in, with the locality is $48,066, and the alternative proposal is $46,066. So there's some differences there. So basically, the original proposal provides larger compensation package for teachers in total. It brings the teacher salary closer to the goal of $50,000. We're about $2,000 away. It does provide some flexibility in times of economic volatility. I believe that in the next couple of years, we're going to have some harder times than we've had in the next, from a financial perspective, economic perspective. We want to be prepared for that. It does move the needle on our ranking, which is one of the goals. We wanted to be in the top 5 of the school districts in South Carolina in terms of the starting teacher salary. And it does move us to a position that I believe has the potential for getting us there. Again, it is a moving target, so we won't know until everyone has finished their budgets and submitted their salary schedules to the state, but I do believe it moves it up significantly up the scale. It addresses inflation. So our inflation, last I talked to you, it was 8.5. I've heard comments of 11% inflation at this point. So this allows us to bring those salaries up to a level in the 13% range of increases. And lastly, if we do have the opportunity, if our current year revenue projections come in greater than what we project right now, we have the opportunity to lower that millage before millage setting in August. So we have the opportunity to go in with a 4 mil request, and in the end of July or mid-August, we see that revenues are coming in $1 million more, $1.5 million more, we have the potential to go back and say, well, I think we could live with 3 mills instead of 4 potentially, or some number to that effect. So we watch it on a monthly basis, and they will cooperate with us if we ask for a biweekly basis. And so we can get information mid-month, and the county treasurer's office has been very generous at giving us that information when needed. So it does provide some flexibility. The cons on this one, you do have a larger overall budget increase. You have a greater impact on taxpayers, although on a $400,000 home, the amount is $96 per year. So the increase in taxes would be $96 per year with a 4 mil increase. So on the second alternative version, some advantages of this model, that half the locality becomes a permanent increase, it resulting in an increase in retirement wages for teachers. So you're taking a somewhat temporary supplement and making it a permanent part of the teacher's salary, and becomes part of their retirement wages. Since there is a new base teacher salary, it's about $500 more. It's slightly higher in terms of the ranking on the base teacher salary schedule when compared to other school districts in the state. There is a smaller overall budget increase, and the savings to taxpayers would, you would have, the impact on taxpayers would be more like a $41 per year increase on a $400,000 home. And some disadvantages of this approach would be that the total compensation package is $2,000 less for teachers and would result in less take-home pay. Will take us longer to get to that $50,000 mark because we're at 46,000. And really, we don't have the millage flexibility. If we start low with a millage number, we can't go up. We can only go down or stay where we are. So there is no real opportunity to change any millage at that point once that has been established at that level. So I'm going to pause there, and so that's kind of a deep, lot of information, and see if you have any comments or questions so far.
Colonel Guyer.
Can I make a comment before we start the discussion? What we will vote on today is which proposal we will go forward to community for community input. But what we vote on today is not the approved budget, but it gives us something for community to say, this is what we are looking at. Give us your feedback. Okay. So I just want to make sure we understand what we're doing here. Just
Yes.
getting ready. Now, there's been a proposal to do this virtually or do it with a video that everybody can watch, and then you have a survey that you can make comments. I don't believe we should do that. I believe the most important thing that I have seen in the last 3 years in this budget discussions was going to these meetings and listening to our employees and listening to the public, listening to parents and so on. So I cannot support not having, at least like we have in the past, a north of the Broad and a south of the Broad community meeting. Everybody's invited, stand in line, and we listen, and then come back and finalize which budget we're going to go with. Thank you.
Ms. Goodrich.
Thank you. So Tanya, when is the Senate going to decide? The House wants the 4,000 increase, the Senate wants 2,000. So when are they going to decide?
Your guess is as good as mine. So that was one of the points I wanted to make this evening. So, so as far as the legislature is concerned, of course, the governor originally recommended a $4,000 increase. So that is a $40,000 salary, minimum salary for teachers that would be mandated under that model. that has passed, a bill has been created by the House and passed. So what that means is that all school districts in the state would have a minimum salary of $40,000. If you're already above that amount, you would not be required to go up the full $4,000, or if you're near that, you would only be required to go to So 40,000, excuse me. So if the Senate's version is a $2,000 mandate, and the Senate has passed that bill as well. So at this point, I actually made some notes, and I don't think it's on my legislative update slide. After the Senate has passed their bill, it goes back to a conference committee. So it's members of the House and the Senate come together. And based on the last update I received from my school business official association, that May 3rd through 5th, the bill would be returned to conference committee. So that's yesterday through tomorrow. And then May 10th through 12th, the conference committee would provide a report and a budget to the governor. So by the end of next Thursday, or a decision should be made. Whether that's extended or not, I don't know. The bills are pretty far apart at this point. There's one main debate that is pretty significant. There's $1 billion tax rebate, income tax rebate discussion, and that's a major sticking point in both the House and the Senate. And the deliberations are going to be intense, I would assume. So, but again, these are the 38,000 and 40,000 are the minimums that are in those. Our current salary schedule with the locality, our current minimum salary schedule with the 3% cost of living that the board passed on March 25th, I believe, is $39,066. So we're above both of those, and districts are not technically required to go up the full 2 or the full 4, but those are still part of our recommendations today. So hope that answers.
Mr. Stribinger?
Thank you. Tanya, I know that the sick leave payout program hasn't been worked out to the level of detail that we need, but my understanding is that will increase the new teacher salary with locality if in fact we have some payout on sick leave. Is that a correct impression?
Sick leave payout is not subject to retirement. Our current sick leave payout plan does not. Only vacation days are part of those, are subject to retirement withholdings. So technically they would not increase retirement wages. Sick leave payout would not increase retirement wages for employees.
I wasn't aiming at the retirement so much as I was in the pocket money.
It definitely increases take-home pay. Yes, sir.
Increases take-home pay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the theory is that that each year teachers would be able to cash in some of their unused sick time. Is that the concept?
Yes, there are 2 parts to the proposal. One would be that employees retiring would be able to cash in their days at a rate that's higher than the current $10 a day. And the second part is that employees who lapse days or lose days annually would be able to be compensated for the lost days. Sick leave.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Ms. Boatright?
Thank you. I'm sorry. I feel like I've been looking at all these financial documents and I'm starting to lose the thread just a little bit. Can you clarify the locality supplement between the two? The blue budget, the original proposal, leaves the locality as is, and the gold budget moves 2,500 into the base salary. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. So it would remain with so the locality supplement would become to $2,500. So instead of teachers, for example, currently receive $2,500 in December, $2,500 in May, it would move to $1,250 in December and $1,250 in May. And then their take-home pay on a biweekly basis would increase by 2,500 divided by 26 paychecks, whatever that, about $100 a month. Is that about $100 payday, $100 a payday?
So my other question is, there's no white budget or green budget that has a full locality, that where the entirety of the locality is moved in, because that does go to where we end up on the rankings, right?
That there is no proposal today that provides that, but it is certainly possible that it could be a third option, obviously. It might be quite a the idea was that this was a less drastic change, and that those who are, really looking for that that bonus right before the holidays or right before the summer break would still have the opportunity for that supplement, but just at a lesser rate, but to take advantage of that in their biweekly wages.
Okay, I was just trying to remember, it seemed like we had talked about that, but they're starting to blur a little bit. And then my other question, if you don't mind, is how much flexibility I don't understand also this compensation analysis that's going to come out. Some figures have kind of been floated. How do you accommodate that in the budget? I mean, what if it comes in with the inflation and all this much higher? How are we going to, do we have enough flexibility in this budget to absorb all that extra cost?
So my experience with compensation and salary studies is it has been, we had one several years ago. I don't know the correct year. It typically has required us to phase it in over a series of years, possibly 2, possibly 3 years. So without knowing the total impact before the study obviously has not been finished. It was expected to come out in, the study is expected to be presented to staff or the board in the summer. I put a placeholder of approximately 2 million plus benefits, which was about 2.6 million, I believe, into this budget to accommodate for some portion of that. If it may be paid, if we're not finalizing the numbers into the fall, it could be begun in January, or there are multiple options that could occur as far as the implementation. But without knowing, we made sure that at least some compensation was put in the budget as a placeholder for a partial implementation.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Ms. Crosby, first, let me start off by saying thank you for putting all your hard work, you and your staff, into this budget. I know this is a lot going into this, and having to wait from the state and all that, it definitely makes decisions hard, especially when it comes to us.
Thank you.
But one of my questions is, when we first started a few minutes ago, when you started out this, in terms of the bus drivers, I know a couple of years ago we had them on a step increase, but then due to COVID, we kind of backed off that because we were trying to do it in basically in phases. And you were saying that the state is now telling us to go up on 5%.
Last year, 5. And we had 5% last year. Okay. Last year was a mandated 5% increase. And this year is also an additional 5% increase. As we have been on step schedule for a few years now with bus drivers. I think it's been several years, actually. All of the classified employees were put on a step several years ago. So they are receiving step.
Right. So in terms of the step that we voted on, I think when I first got on the board, this in terms of the step that we voted on, and also in terms of the step that the state is giving, how is that affecting, or how does that look in terms of what we propose, what we've pushed, as well as the state? Are we just saying that what we voted on what the state voted on is encompasses more or less, or are we just putting it in together? Are we pocketing it, putting it in as one?
Well, this past year, or the current year that we're in, we, bus drivers received a 5% increase.
Right.
Then the board voted on March 25th for a 3% cost of living increase for all. So
Right.
they received that as well. And then they will receive 5% instead of 3% during the new year, where
Right.
the classified administrators will receive 3, bus drivers will receive 5.
Right.
Plus a step. So that's another approximate 1.7 to 2% in that average range. So the cost of living would be higher than the other employees.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Also, looking at this, I was just wondering, and I know you're going to tell me no, but I was just wondering, because I was just thinking of in terms of coming in as in recruiting young teachers, could we possibly put that option as in, Eve, I could worry about the salary being, my salary being more or versus my bonus? Could we possibly make that an option within one of the choices? Because as of right now, that's not really a choice, correct?
In my opinion, and I would certainly, I've been with the district for many years, and having 2 salaries, you would have to have 2 salary schedules in order to accomplish that. So I don't believe that providing an option for one way or the other would be allowable by the State Department. It would be very confusing for each individual, for our staff to be having those elections removed and added back. And so I think in this case, it needs to be all or none. So we could, certainly look at, and I can, continue to provide calculations on what that would take. With 2,500 moving in, it's $1 million cost to the district. So it's about $500,000 per 2.2 million or so.
I mean, but you kind of see, I'm just trying to make it look more attractive. I mean, because, mostly it's definitely important to have that, especially when when you're looking at it in terms of growing and retirement, you would definitely want it in terms of the salary versus the bonus. But okay, I just,
if we're in the top 5 with our base salary and offer the supplement on top of that, we're going to be golden, I think. And I mean, I had a district office staff member stop me in the hallway this week. She graduated in 1998 from college, upstate. She was planning on going into teaching in the upstate, and then looked at the teacher salary schedules across the state and saw that Beaufort at that time was number 1. So she came to Beaufort, and she's still here. So that's the kind of thing we need to do. That's getting people's attention. That's what we need to focus on in order to get good people, get highly qualified people, and have them stay here for a long time. So that's something that was really was powerful to me.
Thank you.
Dr. Guatz?
Yes, thank you, Tanya, for your presentation. Robin, can you scroll up on the slide you have there so we can see the pros and cons? Thank you. So as you know, Tanya, previously in our discussions, I really would like to see the locality supplement as part of the teacher salary. So 1, we get credit for it when we are compared to other school districts salary to salary. It's not something that has to be voted on annually by the school board. So it's a sure thing once it's rolled into the salary. And there's the advantage for the employees that they're also now getting retirement benefits on that. So, and I see how you, as it's already brought up by this boat rights comments, that you've got half in there at this point as a sort of segue into eventually doing the whole thing. So do you know, a couple things, the new base teacher salary, so this would be in the alternate budget, 43,566. Where is that now on that list you gave us like a meeting or two ago?
It would be near the top, but I do know that Greenville is proposing a $2,000 increase to bring them to 44,515, I believe is the number. And I do know that Fort Mill is also proposing a $2,000 increase, and they were number 2 on the list. So it would place us hopefully in the top 5, but really, like I said, it's a moving target. I know at least one other school district that we were in touch with was raising 4,000. Most were raising 2,000 or less.
Okay.
Fairfield was
Scroll down again, Robin, because on the alternate proposal, you have that, I believe the con was 2,000 total compensation. Oops, can't see it. Okay, total compensation package 2,000 less. But wouldn't it really be less than 2,000 because they are now getting retirement benefit? You haven't taken that into account in that?
I'm referring more to the gross salary before any withholdings in this scenario.
Okay. Okay.
But yes, the 2,500 rolled in would be subject to a 9% retirement withholding, at which would be about $225 or so.
Yeah. Okay. When we when the 6 board members went up to the State House last week, and when Tom Davis talked to us, his comments were all on the new funding formula, and he specifically made a point of saying that, you know, the House, you know, had the $4,000 increase for the teacher salary, whereas the Senate, they were proposing the $2,000 increase in the salaries for teachers. But he said that the Senate proposal allowed for more flexibility for school districts to, you know, move the money where they really needed to have the money. And I believe another big difference between the House and Senate funding formulas was the House had the new funding formula apply to all of the monies, where I believe the Senate had the new funding formula apply to just a portion of the money.
I do want to mention
Thank
one
you.
thing on that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There is a proposal, in the Senate proposal, I believe, they are proposing to move the teacher supply reimbursement from $275 to $300. So I want to make that point as well. So that's an increase that will put dollars in the hands of teachers. We give that in the form of a real check, and they can spend it on supplies for their classrooms.
Ms. Fidrich?
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Robine. So Tanya, I'm looking at the blue budget, and you know, your opening remarks is what's our purpose? To recruit and retain. Okay. So when you look at all that we've talked about over the past couple of weeks and today, tell me if I've got this comprehensively. 3% retroactive. Okay, so that should be in teachers' hands by the end of the school year, right?
June 10th.
Okay, so the beginning,
June 10th.
the beginning of summer. Recommending a $4,000 salary increase.
Yes.
And recommending one step. Recommending a locality supplement. And you just told us about the teacher supply going up to $300. Okay, so I know that everybody's excited about the locality supplement when it's Christmas time. And I appreciate your thoughts on if we put the entire locality supplement into the salary, you know, that would just kind of be a shock. But I also believe in the long term that by having this increase in the salary, it raises us higher on that schedule and also helps teachers with long-term retirement and so on. So if we were to take half of that, I'm talking the blue budget right now, okay? And we were going to take half of that locality supplement and put 2,500 into the salary and do 2,500 as a take home, 1,250 each semester, right? Knowing that we have this proposal for the ESSER funds to use, the $2,000 to come out in November, correct?
Yes.
$2,000 retention and recruitment bonus that if you stay by November 15th, if we were to approve this today, that $2,000 would be paid out right around the holidays,
Yes.
along with this 1,250, which would be 3,250, right?
Yes.
Which is more than the 2,500 typical stipend. Do you see where I'm going with this? That would lessen the blow of putting half the stipend into salary, keeping the half the stipend as a locality supplement, but then using these ESSER funds. You know, I think this is a fabulous way to use these ESSER funds. So tell me what you think about that.
So $4,000 plus bring 2,500 in.
That's right.
Okay.
And look where that would put us. We would, if you add the 2,500 to the 43,066, you're talking 45,566. That, based on the numbers you just told us of where the other districts are, would definitely put us toward the top.
So my initial point is that it would be a cost of $1 million additional expenditures. So we could either add it to this budget, increase the millage, or reduce something else in the expenditures. So that is an option. And it would bring the teacher salaries up to the base salary to $45,066. No, $45,566. Is that right? Yep. And the overall would be so 40. Say it again. 50,000. And we're taking the 45,566 plus 2,500 additional. Is that? $43,66 plus 2,500.
Right, which is half of the locality supplement. So that would raise our starting teacher salary to 45,566, right?
Yes.
Still allowing a locality supplement of 2,500 to be dispersed over 2 semesters.
And then another 2,500 locality,
Right?
$48,066.
Right. And if the board so agrees that the ESSER funds be used in such a way for a $2,000 recruitment retention bonus to be dispersed, or if you're still working by November, and I don't know when this payout would be, we're talking that inflation rate you just talked about, we're talking helping to keep our employees heads above water, right? You're nodding, but what are your thoughts?
It would be 0.7 mils if there were an increase to the expenditure.
0.7, so then the proposed millage increase would be 4.7?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
tell me again, please, you told us before, what is our, oh, Madam Vice Chair, I'm sorry, I'm just, okay. You told us before that we're allowed how much in our millage?
8.3.
8.3?
Yes.
So we'd still have a rollback of 3.6?
Yes.
Mr. Mel Campbell?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Sonia, the step increases, that might not be off topic, but I'm trying to figure out where we're going with it. Is that mandated by the state
Yes, sir.
percentages? Is it a
The
percentage?
teacher's step and I believe the bus driver step are mandated by the state.
Is it a percent of where you are, or is it a dollar amount, or what?
It is not a standard percent. It is an average of about 2%, 1.7 to 2%. When there
Okay.
are flat increases in cells like 2,000 or 1,000, it
It's
skews the
different. Yeah, I know.
percentages.
Yeah, I'm
You,
just saying.
you're the mathematician.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just saying ordinarily, if we started, let's say Trish's theory, we started 50,000, then the step increase would be more than if we started at 48,000. Right? Because of the percentage. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. That's why I want to
Yes,
make sure at the end of 30 years, a teacher has reached a certain point. 'Cause that is a buy-in too. They say they look at, any teacher look at it, but any clinician looks at the whole thing. Where will that be in 20 years? We're talking retaining, they got to know where they're going to be in 20 years. So I'm for that. And I like that idea, Tricia, but what about there's a fund dry out? Yeah, well,
Yes. You know what? I say that we think about the demand for our needs right now. And yes, I know this has to end by, I think, September 2024,
Yes.
right? And so I have full faith that,
when we put it in, we'll find the money. Continue it. Okay, I'm pro teacher living on more than bread and water. Okay, and that's my attitude, and whatever the highest we can go. And I consider the inflation, and when I analyze it from a mathematical standpoint, we're not raising the teachers, living expenses, cost of living that much. We're still in a 2 to 3% area when you consider inflation. So that's another thought too. I don't know what the other counties are doing. I'm not sure they have the flex that we have, but I think we ought to give them a real fair deal. That's my thought about it. I think this is an opportunity to change the impact in Beaufort County of what we feel about teachers. We're the 10th largest county, I think, and we're 50-something in salary. And that's almost ridiculous. And to say that we're Beaufort County.
I think this might put us at number one.
Oops. If I could just interject here, and then I'm going to get back to the queue. But I think that we're at a time in our community now where our community recognizes, I truly believe this, the shortage of teachers and how their children are being impacted by, the number of classes that aren't being covered. And I think we have to do what we can, to show that we want to bring teachers here. And one way that we're going to get quality teachers here and fill those spots, because our constituents, our students need qualified teachers in those spots, is we've got to take teachers' salaries seriously. And we have to, I think, to use Mr. Smith's words, put our money where our mouth is. So that's my comment. And Colonel Geyer, you're next in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I want to talk about the millage rate. The alternative millage rate is a 1.7. The original proposal is a 4.0. And that is not the full millage that we could ask.
Correct.
We are banking some millage for the unknown, and that's good. Difference for a taxpayer. And I'm talking the guy that owns the $400,000 home on Sea Pines that he rents out for $1 gazillion a year. This means for him the difference between a 1.7 and a 4.0 means for him $55 a year. That's less than $5 a month. And for that,
Starbucks
we can,
coffee.
and for that, we can get the $2,000 more for the teachers. That's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. And if, and I think you'd ask that property owner, is he going to raise his rate $5? No. I mean, this is chump change. And I know it's terrible to say taxpayers are getting, our chump change, but $55 a year is what we're talking about. And it's $2,000 a year for the teacher. That math, if I was doing math, it wouldn't make sense. So, I think whatever proposal we choose, we stick with a 4.0 mil, 4.7.
Well, with the new one,
Oh, yeah. Yes. If we do that, 4.7 mil increase.
okay, let's see. Ms. Boatright?
Thank you. As someone that works in HR for a small business, it's, when you're looking at your budget, raising salary and raising benefits, it's a tough equation. But what I would support, I think we need to do what we can for teacher salaries. It's not just because of inflation. There was an article that Hilton Head Island had the 15th highest rent increase in the nation. We were the only place in South Carolina in the top 20. Beaufort County, I think they said 31% increase in rent. So when you factor in the fact that for some, whatever reason, the pandemic, the lifestyle, and Colonel Guy had a $400,000 home in Sea Pines, no way, not even kinda. So I think we recognize that if we want the teachers to live in our community and we want them to have one of the, as a daughter of 2 teachers, teaching should be a reasonable lifestyle. It should not be a 45-minute commute because you can't afford to live anywhere near where you work, right? So one of the benefits, I think people do want to live here, but we have to, it's not even competing with the other districts. I do believe that Beaufort County has gotten so high in terms of rent that we need to do whatever we can to get the teachers to a point where they can afford an apartment. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. And we heard the gentleman, the science teacher from Robert Smalls last night, talking about people losing roommates and having to move. I mean, it is dire on the housing costs. So I think in addition to the inflation, we need to recognize that Beaufort County is in a uniquely difficult housing crunch. And that's going to make, even if we are the #1 salary in the county, when you try to rent somewhere to live or buy a house, we really have to do some extra stuff for our teachers. So I would definitely support doing whatever we can to raise the teacher salary.
Ms. Middleton?
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Crosby, for this report. I totally support what Ms. Frederick has come up with her numbers. I think about the teachers that were here last night from Robert Smalls. Yes, it's hard for them to live. It makes no sense for a teacher to have to be in the classroom 9 hours a day, then go home and then work a part-time job. And with rents going up over 30+%, come on, we have to do better. And again, Mr. Smith said something that we need to do. Put our money where the mouth is. Let's go ahead and give them money. And as a taxpayer, yes, I will pay whatever. As a former teacher and a current taxpayer, I will pay whatever to get our teachers the increases that they need. I'm in full support of this. Thank you, Ms. Frederick, for calculating those numbers.
Mr. Smith?
Could you kind of help me walk me through, in terms of the sick pay, how will we roll that out? What will that look like?
That plan is not fully developed. I think we need some conversations more about it so that the board sees a few scenarios. And so I think that requires a little more attention than the time we had for the budget conversation. So I may put a placeholder in so that we have some options and we have an amount to work with.
Okay, so that's not final right there.
It's to be discussed.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Ms. Robine. And I think what I was going to chime in, and it's been said, but it's along the lines of what you were talking about, Ms. Robine, and then what Ms. Boatwright and Ms. Middleton hit upon, which is that I think our community not only obviously wants us to have the greatest opportunity at attracting talent and attracting teachers, but I think they also want them to be able to live right here in the community. I had a conversation this morning with one of our teachers who shared with me, I want to live in the community in which I teach. And that's powerful, and I agree with all of you all that I do think that our community wants them to live here in the community as well. So that's it.
Mr. Earl Campbell?
Yes. We have been talking about this for years, what it costs to live in Beaufort County. It seems to me that every time salary goes up, rent goes up. So maybe we need to sit down and talk to the realtors and the folks that are renting, because, there's nothing wrong with a person making a profit. But Jesus Christ, when you're killing people, that don't make sense. And I know people don't want to hear that. You don't have to gouge people's pocketbook just to make a profit, because when you die, you're not going to take it with you. It just doesn't make sense to me. And teacher salary can go up to 60,000 or 70,000, and the people that rent there, they're going to go up. There has to be some point, a cutoff point somewhere. And maybe we need to sit down with the Chamber of Commerce and the realtors and talk to them. That's all I have.
Do you have more presentation you'd like to
A little
continue
bit,
with? Okay,
yes.
I see no more hands at this point. Colonel Guyer?
Madam Chair, how do you want to proceed? What we could do is vote for the original proposal, but make a motion and say, here's the original proposal, and get a vote. And then if they don't get 6 votes for it, go to read the second motion. How do we choose which proposal we're going to go out and give to the community in the community session?
Okay,
I would recommend, if it seems the consensus is to go with with Ms. Fidrich's proposal, we just alter the motion that I've provided, the draft motion, and just go with one. I'm happy to take a look at that. And
Could you rewrite that then?
yes.
we could take a recess.
But is she, are you finished with your proposal? Are you
I
finished?
do have a couple other things.
Okay, yeah,
to
I think I want
say,
to hear those things first. And then also,
might get one of my colleagues. Does anyone, I think I have a copy of that. May I have that?
Mr. Smith, let's let her finish and then.
yeah, okay.
Okay, just a couple more slides. I'd like to go to slide 8 in the presentation. So we already talked about the legislative update. As part of the budget process, Administrative Rule OS2 requires the annual approval of both the operating budget, which we're going to look at for next budget meeting, but also the debt service budget. So tonight, I'm not asking you to vote on this, but I do want you to see it for the first time, and then we'll see it again on the next meeting. The debt service budget comes from a synopsis or a summary from Brian Nurick, the Compass Municipal Advisors. And it's based on the principal and interest payments that are coming due over the course of the next school year or budget year. So those total expenditures of principal and interest will be $88.2 million. Those are already established and may include any upcoming bond issues that we may make that will be paid back in the next school year as well. So these numbers are based on the long-term financing plan you've already seen during our debt day presentation in March. And it maintains the current millage and debt service of 36.3. So no, we are not requesting any change in that millage. The projected fund balance, we always look at the December fund balance in debt service because we have fall interest payments. So you can't look at June 30th and think that, oh, well, we have excess. We do not. We have to have enough in the fund balance at June in order to pay our September interest payments. So the low point is we generally try to keep it around $5 million at December 31. And this budget accomplishes that. So in the handout, there's a detail if you're interested in looking at the details of the numbers for those of you who like to see the math behind the numbers. And those are on page 7. All right, the next slide, just again, Mr. Geyer said just exactly what I was going to say, and I do need some guidance this evening on which method so that I can go forward with a public forum. So we were discussing a virtual public forum, but there is a need for us to be in person this year. So over the course of yesterday evening and today, I've been talking with Bluffton High School and Beaufort High School to find a space. And it seems that we were looking in the time frame of May 10th and 11th. So that's next Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're going to try to stay within those 2 days and provide a proposal or a presentation to the community on those dates. So we're already talking to principals. So we're on it. And the last thing is that our budget readings with County Council have been postponed. They really were looking for an approved budget prior to first reading. And we're waiting on a couple of other budgets for fire districts, I believe. So in the interest of having finalized budgets coming from the municipalities or the fire districts and the school district, the council has informed us that the staff has informed us that the first reading will be postponed to May 23rd. So May 23rd, June 13th, and June 27th will be final reading. So we'll be right at the end of the hour getting the budget approved through council. One other note I wanted to make is that the locations of those have actually already been set, and they're all on the northern side of the river. So the first meeting on the 23rd will be at the Rec Center, Burton Wells Recreation Center, and the other 2 readings, the second and third reading, will be at County Council Chambers. So I will send an information out to principals for those who might be interested in attending. May 23rd is a graduation night for Bluffton High School. So that's first reading. So I think that concludes my presentation.
Ms. Crosby, I have a question on page 8 of the debt service budget.
Yes.
It says projected fund balance at 12/31/23. Is 23 the correct year, or should it be 22?
And that is on slide 8 or
Slide 8.
Yes, it is actually correct. Our
So it's a whole year in advance.
yes.
Okay.
The year following. Yes.
All right. One other thing that before we move forward with a motion, I feel that since I know that Rachel expressed last evening that she had questions and she was going to share them with you, I think that I, as a board member, would like to hear what her questions were and what the responses are so that. Oh, she did. Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry. Okay. My problem.
Well, I didn't see the email, but it was a busy day today. She had some good questions. I don't recall all of them, but I do recall one was about the board's budget. There appeared to be an increase. And the increase was actually, she mentioned an increase of approximately $150,000. It's not actually an increase from budget to budget. It's an increase from the actual spending in fiscal year 21. And versus the budget for the current year, or the proposed budget for our new year. The difference is actually due to savings in fiscal year 2021. And those savings were due primarily to COVID. So there wasn't as much travel in the board's budget. And so we do expect that to return and to be having those, the travel that we were experiencing prior to COVID. So that's the reasoning behind the majority of that increase. She had some great questions regarding, like, as you did this evening, just trying to understand the various options that were available to us and understanding the pros and cons and kind of just gaining a better understanding of those, and also the sick leave payout. She had a question similar to Mr. Smith, and that is those were answered, and also there is a proposal. The proposal would be forthcoming in the future.
Mr. Smith, do you have a question? Your hand's up.
Yes, ma'am. In terms of I apologize. In terms of what Mr. Campbell said, I think that is very important. The same way how we send letters out for different things and about the council. I think is, you know, when you hear about, you see emails, you go to different meetings. I see it very concerning that we have these realtor groups that are leading these discussions in our area. So I think it'd be awesome for us to maybe possibly even, you know, for us to, as the school board, that we see it's important to have teachers here for us to start leading the discussion into, you know, we need some type of understanding, some type of capping when it takes off 3. I mean, when it goes up 3%, 11%. Well, excuse me, I'm my mind's all over the place right now. But when it goes up that much in Beaufort County, and no elected officials are taking the lead on that conversation, I do deem that someone needs to take the lead on that conversation, or someone must take a stab at it. And I think that it would not only just show great leadership in the school board, but it will show also our staff that we are concerned and that we care about them living and working in the same community. I think that, make a long story short, I think that we should have a meeting with the realtors, or we should start somewhere. Or we maybe whether it's a committee, whether it's the board level, we should figure out where we want to go, and not just talk about it, because I think I don't want that to fall on deaf ears. I think that now is the appropriate time to go ahead and get that ball rolling. If not now, then when? I mean, that's, you know, I mean, I'm not sure how y'all feel about it. I mean, I know that's kind of a little different, but even if we put that on the next agenda or something, but that's very important.
Do you want to make a motion?
Sure. At this time, I make a motion that the board creates, the board simply creates a meeting with the Realty Association. And I mean, how? We guess we have to figure that out. I mean, what? Yeah, but I guess that would be a whole lot. But yet,
Let's have a leadership group.
Right.
That's what you're proposing.
Right. Well, okay, there we go. So I propose that the school board invites the Realtors Association leadership group to have a meeting. To discuss the cost of living in Beaufort County. No, just to a board meeting.
Wait, okay, do we have a second on that? Okay. Earl Campbell.
The realtors and the in the chamber,
Chambers, yeah, exactly.
because the chamber has a lot to do with this also.
Do you accept that amendment, Mr. Smith?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Ms. Boatright?
Thank you. There was a little bit of feedback on my end, so I'd like to see the motion in writing because I wasn't 100% sure I caught it. And then my other question, when you say the chamber, aren't there, I know there's the Beaufort Regional Chamber, which is sort of north of Broad, and then there's the Hilton Head chamber. I don't know how many chambers there are, or if there is one parent chamber. Can someone clarify?
There's about 4 or 5 of them. Is about right. There are a couple of different chambers. Yes, ma'am. And we will definitely want to invite every chamber.
Okay, the motion is presented and been seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, I support the idea. I think, though, that we ought to begin to think out of the box a little as a school district and start thinking about somewhat supporting some housing for our incoming teachers. Whatever that plan could possibly look like, anything from some of the teachers' salary going towards house ownership when they're hired or whatever, but we ought to better start thinking about that because that's going to remain a problem in Beaufort County. And if it's an enticement to bring in new teachers, a part of it is they will eventually secure housing because we got it kind of built into a plan. Then I think in the long term, that would help. That would help the teachers decide to relocate, but it also help to sustain the teachers here once they got here. And I don't know what it would look like. I don't know what kind of funds it would take, but in collaboration with the realtors or the chamber, I think that's where we ought to begin to start thinking if we're gonna sustain the culture of the area in terms of public schools.
Perhaps that could be a future agenda topic. Dr. Glatz?
Can you hear me?
Yes. We could.
So, okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me? Okay. So one is we're getting off topic here. We're supposed to be discussing the budget. You know, I'm not going to support this motion. I think we're getting into totally different territory here. And, you know, we've been elected by the community to oversee the education of public school students in Beaufort County. I actually do manage rental real estate, and I don't think we need to be, as a school board, I don't see what authority we have to tell the Realtors Association and the chamber how to, you know, manage property. I won't support this.
Ms. Middleton?
you. I understand everybody's concerns, and I do agree with Dr. Guad's. This housing market will shift. We don't know when. I'm not an economist. I know that the interest rates are going up and the sales are slowing down. We can't tell somebody what to rent their property for. Even if we meet with these organizations, they're just going to give us a forecast of, they're going to tell us what they're seeing in the market, you know, how many houses are being sold, because with that Bluffton Ad Hoc Growth Committee, we had some of the Realtors Associations, the president and the vice president come and talk to us, you know, about the growth and how many houses are being sold. I can't support it because there's nothing that they can tell us or nothing that we can do. But this market will shift. It's not going to be a seller's market forever. And whenever there's a seller's market, the rents go up because houses are being sold and people are trying to capitalize on all this money that's floating around in this economy. So I can't support this motion.
Okay. Mr. Stribinger?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree that I think this is outside of our purview. I think we need to refocus on the budget. And the simple answer is we need to give the teachers the maximum amount of take-home pay that we can do. But all this other stuff, you know, is out of our control. That's within our control. We need to give the teachers as much money as we can give them, and vote on moving that forward, and not get distracted by this stuff.
Thank you. Mr. Earl Campbell, and then I'd like
Oh.
to say this will be the last comment
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we have
yeah.
diverted from the budget.
Okay.
We'll take a vote on the motion
Okay,
after your comment.
I'm not trying to tell the realtors or anybody what to do. I think we need to sit down and talk with them, you know, because the chamber and the realty control all this. And I think at some point, we need to sit down and talk with them. How can they help us? That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to call the question.
Well, I just,
I don't, I'm sorry, Mr. Okay. Yeah, we are off topic. I think it can be something that can be brought up again at a later time. Let's get back to the future. So let's vote on the motion that's on the table, please. The motion is that the school board invite the Realtors Association and all chambers to a board meeting to discuss the cost of living in Beaufort County. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. 1, 2, 3. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey,
6, 7.
well, we have the Pastor Alliance.
Okay, back to the budget.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Colonel Geyer.
I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education support budget option number 3, which includes a $4,000 increase to teachers' salaries and moving $2,500 from the locality supplement into the base teachers' salaries to allow the administration to seek community input for the 2022-23 budget.
Seconded.
Mr. Smith, second. Any discussion? Ms. Fidler?
Just a quick question. So Ms. Crosby, we don't have to vote on the locality supplement separately, do we? It's already included within this.
It's included.
Got it.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thanks.
Any other comments? Okay. Mr. Smith?
In terms of, well, actually, and this is the stipend for coming from the ESSA funds. Is that I didn't really.
No, we haven't voted on
Okay,
that.
That's the next
Okay,
agenda
right.
item.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right. So the motion reads, I move that the school board invite No, wrong motion. Oh, do you have it up there? Okay. I just want to make sure that we all know what we're voting on. Okay. The motion is that Beaufort County Board of Education support budget option number 3, which includes a $4,000 increase to teacher salaries and moving $2,500 from the locality supplement into the base teacher's salary to allow the administration to seek community input for the 22-23 budget. I do have a question. Should that say $4,000 increase to the beginning, to the first step teacher, to beginning teacher? Because the way it reads, it sounds like every teacher.
It is every teacher.
It is every
It's
teacher.
every
Oh, every
teacher.
teacher will get, so it's not just every step. Okay, that's the only way they can stay ahead. Okay, all right. Okay. So that's the motion. Perfect. That's better. Okay, because, never mind. But all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hey, that passes unanimously. Okay. Any other motions?
We have a discussion on the employee compensation, recruiting and retention bonus. Are you ready for that?
Yes, sir.
I am, yes.
In fact, why don't I read a motion and then have it
we'll
open for
go-
discussion?
Yes, I think
Okay.
that's good.
I move that the Beaufort County School District provides each current full-time employee who remains employed by the district on November 15th, 2022, a $2,000 retention bonus. Each new full-time employee hired after today's date will receive a $2,000 recruitment bonus if they remain employed by the district on November 15th, 2022. Funding not to exceed $6 million will be utilized by the federal ESSER program that provides COVID impact relief.
Seconded.
Mr. Smith, second. Any discussion? Ms. Fidrick?
Thank you. I think this is fabulous. I absolutely in support of this, but Ms. Crosby, I wanted to throw an idea out to you. ESSER funds. When you go and look at our ESSER 1, 2, and 3, and you see that on line 32 of ESSER 3, we have indirect costs of 20.71%. Now, it says that ARP allows a 21.71% indirect cost. So what I was wondering is, could we amend this motion so that it also applies to the next school year? So teachers will know, not only have they been recruited with $2,000 and retained for $2,000, but when they start their second year, they will also get a $2,000 bonus. And then, just mirroring this and all of it coming out of ESSER funds. And the reason I brought up line 32 is that it says you're allowed up to 21.7% indirect. I'm sorry, 20.7 indirect costs. You don't have to take that. And is there some room from ESSER funds to say that this same compensation, the same retention and recruitment bonus will already be in place for next year? The ESSER funds have to be used by September
2024.
2024.
Yes.
So we're coming into 22, 23 for the 23-24 school year.
Mhm.
Just what do you think of that?
So you're suggesting to use, instead of moving indirect costs into the general fund operating budget, to utilize those in ESSER on the additional year of supplements on the retention.
So how much is it? This costs almost close to $6 million
Yes.
to do this. And we have for indirect costs 9.8 basically.
Mhm.
Some of it's already been used. This is the bottom line. Okay, I said line 32. There might be other areas.
Mhm.
The bottom line is that I can't think of a better use of ESSER funds than to recruit and retain our teachers.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, not just teachers, it's full-time employees. It's everybody.
Mhm.
Okay? It's
We might want to go higher. If you're
Well-
saying, you know, you're locking this into the next year, and we might not want to, we might say. we want to go higher. Gives us more flexibility.
well, will it still be there? Or will,
Yes, the ESSER funds
okay,
are-
so Dick, excuse me. So, I mean, yes, the ESSER funds will still be there, but some of them are already getting encumbered. So that's my, when you put it out there that this is what you want to use the funds for, then you've already put it, so I just throw it out there to the team here to see whether or not it's even a possibility, because I can't think of a better use of ESSER funds. So,
Ms. Crosby, do you have a response to that?
Yes. So in fact, 100% of the funds are actually committed to something. We've budgeted every line item to something, as you see in our reports each month. So in order to accomplish the most recent, we put dual modality in, and that cost a couple $1 million as well. And then this proposal is for 6 million. As we shift away from the originally proposed activities that were budgeted, we have to trim off some categories in other areas. This year we were able to do that because we are not taking as much indirect cost transfer into the general fund in the current year, to lessen the kind of offset the excess tax revenue that we are expecting. So that saved us a couple $1 million that we were able to reallocate to some of the initiatives that have already been approved. I'm reluctant to recommend a second year because we haven't yet hit a full summer of Summer Institute, summer reading, summer school with all students that are eligible or interested present. So I would rather have a great idea of what that major cost is going to be. In addition to that, we should see construction of some of the HVAC units and water bottle filler stations and some of the capital improvements that will be coming as well. So I don't want to commit to $6 million is a pretty high price tag for a second year. So it worries me a little to commit that and then not have enough for some of the activities that we had originally put in place. So that's my
and I
initial
appreciate
thought.
that. That's why I just was bouncing it off you. And also when in our packet, I didn't see the 6 million. That wasn't on this motion.
You're
So
correct. And
so I just didn't know what.
I went back and noticed that the recommendation that I sent to the board did not have a dollar amount in it. So
fine.
I made sure to check with Denise Matson, our Director of Special Revenue, who indicated that 6 million was the amount that we budgeted. So
Okay.
I apologize for that.
No, that's
Mhm.
fine. That's fine. But that is higher than I expected.
Yes.
So anyway, when this conversation is being had next year, I
Yeah.
hope that if there is some consideration for that. So
And
that's all.
we can separate the spending for this particular bonus in a separate pay type. So we know exactly how much we spent
Yep.
through the course of the year. And then I think when we get about 6 more months under our belts,
Mhm.
we can see where we are and have a better idea of what we're going to have remaining. So we always have the option to go back and do it again. It just concerns me a little to go ahead and commit to that when we really want to look at funding, how we're
So
spending.
valid, that's fair. I just would reiterate that I can't think of any greater use of these ESSER funds then to support that. And I don't believe this was an acceptable usage when it was first put out, right? We were told way back when that ESSER funds couldn't necessarily be used for a teacher bonus.
That's correct. In the earlier, the ESSER 1 and
Right.
2. And so we assumed that ESSER 3 could not be spent that way as well. But then we contacted a high level official at the State Department of Education who indicated that if you had it for a particular purpose, then you can do what we're looking to do.
Okay.
So-
All right. Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Mr. Smith? Okay, Ms. Boatright?
Sorry, a little slow on the mute button. So this kind of is in line with my questions from yesterday in terms of, as I understand it, the employees have until May 15th to return their contracts, after which I assume there'll be a flurry of hiring. So I just want to make sure I understand sort of the progression, because this does have a clause in it that says anybody hired after today. And I just want to make sure that we haven't hired a bunch of people who are going to be like, wait, that we're timing this correctly with that date. So if someone could just reassure me that that's kind of what happens.
Is anyone on, Alice Walton, or I don't know if Dr. Rodriguez, you can address that if no one.
Tanya, I'm here.
Okay, great.
I think, Ms. Boatright, if I understand you correctly, what you're trying to ensure is that anybody who has been hired for next year prior to today would still be eligible for that recruitment bonus. Is that right?
That, and to make sure that there's not a bunch of people that are in that category, so that when we pick this as like the date, everybody after this date, that we're not cutting out a big chunk of new hires.
Okay. The way I understand this motion is that anybody, in terms of the recruitment piece, that anybody hired, you have to excuse my eyes for a minute here. Let me see if I can enlarge.
It says each new full-time employee hired after today's date will receive a recruitment bonus.
Yeah, so the way I understand the board's intention is that anybody that's being hired for next school year as a new hiree would be eligible for this recruitment bonus.
And it
And
seems like a better way to put it too. Kind of.
maybe we want to maybe what we want to say is each, anybody hired for next school year would be eligible for the recruitment bonus. But Ms. Walton, that's how I understand it is the board's intent here is to compensate and to provide a recruitment bonus for any employee coming in for next school year, and as a retention bonus for any teacher that stays employed with, or any full-time employee, any full-time employee who remains employed with the district on that November 15th date.
Well, this might give you a little bit more clarity.
Yeah, okay. I misunderstood. I thought that there was two pieces. There was a retention piece for our current employees and then a recruitment piece for new employees that started today. But the way you're saying it is if you were hired in April as a new hire, you would then fall into the category of remaining hired through November 15th. You would still get the bonus. I just misread it, I think.
That's how I understand the board's intent is to have a bonus for the purpose of keeping our employees and for the purpose of recruiting employees. So to me, they would all fall in that umbrella in terms of eligibility for this bonus. That's how I understand it.
Yep.
So Dr. Rodriguez, can I add to that? We have hired or offered up to this point about 126 contracts for next school year. And those contracts have been signed and dated. They were dated before this date, even though their contracts technically don't begin until August. So I don't know if there's something technically that we need to change about the motion that will cover all of those employees.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wait, hired, we could do an amendment.
Well, there,
Yeah, you could just say each new full-time employee hired for the 2022, hired for employment during the 22-23 school year.
Who
Yeah.
remains until November 15th. Yeah.
Right.
I think I just read it. Once he was talking about it, I realized that how I was reading it, it just caught my attention that new hires after today's date. I was like, well, apparently there's 100 and some that have already been hired and should be new hires. So however the board wants to handle it, I kind of understand it now.
Ms. Middleton?
So let me clarify. The sentence should read, each new full-time employee hired for the 2022-2023 school year will receive a $2,000 recruitment bonus if they remain employed by the district on November 15th, 2022. Is that how we want that to read?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Strebinger?
Oh,
Sorry.
I thank you. I think Dr. Rodriguez has a real clear picture of the board's intent. We can wordsmith this forever, but I don't think we need to. I think he was pretty clear. He gets it. He knows what we want and he's going to implement it. So I don't think we really need to spend a whole lot of time trying to wordsmith the motion.
Ms. Crosby, did you have something else?
I was just going to offer employed versus hired and possibly, but you know, it really employed instead of hired, but that, you know, it's at the will of the board to, it's not necessary. We know what the intent is. So, but
okay. Mr. Smith?
I was just going to say prior to this conversation but I was going to say that what Mrs. Friedrich proposed a few minutes ago, that I really think that was putting our money where our mouth is, but we also have some other things to think about. And I just wanted to let her know that she was not out there by herself. I do agree with that. But actually, the reason why I told you I didn't have a question again, because actually Mrs. Crosby answered my question. And when she said that the money was allocated for other things already, so that, you know, that taught, I guess it's another word, that taught me back off the ledge. But I was definitely with you, Ms. Friedrich. I just wanted to let you know that I do agree with that. Was not far-fetched at all. So I definitely do appreciate that. So I just wanted to put that out there, that teachers, that I hope they see that we are trying and willing and able to do everything we can within our power to get them where they need to be. Thank you.
Okay, let's, Tina?
Yeah, hey, I finally.
Oh, you're there.
I'm there. His Beaufort County School District education paid off along with his college education. So I see how this motion is both a retention and recruitment bonus. My one concern is, so the people that are recruited be recruited for November 14th, work one day and get this bonus? Or are these people that we want starting with us the first day of school, or they have to come actually a week ahead of time to do the personal development, all that, professional development, excuse me?
they would receive the bonus. Yes. Dr. Rodriguez.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, I think in my mind, the board's intent is to aid in the recruitment and retention process. We know, as we've gone through this year and we've gone through prior years, that there are employees that resign partway through the year. There are employees that we hire partway through the year. And I think the intent of the November portion, the November date that's on there is really simply that we are able to encourage employees to sign on with us as early as possible, stay with us as well, right? And I think that is the intent there. So, I mean, I understand the point, about somebody on November 14th or November 10th or what have you, but I get it. I understand that. I think the intent, as I understand it from the board, is recruit, retain. That's the bonus for people. and we want to keep them. We're talking about everybody who we bring on for the upcoming year. That's how I read it. If there's a shift on that, in terms of what Dr. Guadz is talking about, I think that would need a caveat in there for that.
Ms. Fidger.
Yeah, just Ms. Crosby, just why was November 15th picked? Just out of curiosity?
I
Because that
believe it was
was,
about 90 days after the start of the school year or so. September, October, November.
90 days would probably be more like January. So why, I mean, yeah. So just wondering why November 15th instead of maybe, you're still with us after winter break and you're coming back, I mean, is there a reason?
No, there was just some effort to make sure that they were working at least some portion of the school year and staying beyond just a few months or
Yeah.
a few weeks and losing staff that we had brought on board and then weren't able to find someone the remainder of the year for the position.
Dr. Rodriguez.
I think if you're trying to address Dr. Guad's concern, I mean, one way would be to say, in terms of new employees must remain employed for a 90-day period or something like that.
My concern is not Dr. Guad's concern. My concern was just keeping them through the first semester,
Right.
and not
Oh.
taking the $2,000 and saying, okay, I've got my moving money. This is,
Yeah.
because it's holidays and I'm going to
Yep.
to move, it just, so I
Yep.
was just wondering, I'm not going to belabor it, but I just wonder if it would, be wiser to do through the first semester.
That wouldn't allow us to provide the additional funding or bonus at Christmas. So that might be a consideration that we were talking about earlier. As the locality is reduced, if we chose a date after the new year, it wouldn't allow for the Christmas, for the bonus in December. So that's something to consider.
Okay, I don't see any other hands, so let's call the question. The motion reads, Beaufort County School District provide each current full-time employee who remains employed by the district on November 15th, 2022, a $2,000 retention bonus. Each new full-time employee hired for the 2022-23 school year will receive a $2,000 recruitment bonus if they remain employed by the district on November 15th, 2022. Funding not to exceed $6 million and will be utilized by the federal ESSER program that provides COVID impact relief. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So that's unanimous, 10-0, Rachel absent from the vote. Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the work that your team did in compiling that.
Appreciate that.
I'm sorry. No, 10-0. Yeah, Rachel's not here. Okay. So at this time, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Vice Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Dr. Guad, second. Any discussion? I'm sorry? No, we don't. That's right. Yeah, that's right. People would take it off before that. Thank you. Okay, all in favor of approving the items on the consent agenda, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. 10-0, 1, Rachel absent from the vote. Future agenda topics. Ingrid.
Mr. Ingrid.
No, I'm
This is what
sorry.
happens after 2 meetings. Yeah, I think this is going to go straight to operations committee. I have a sense, but the daycare issue has been brought up to me by a few people, and it was mentioned in the public comments, daycare or childcare for teachers. And I think we can probably fold that into operations committee, but I would like to formally make an agenda request to have the board understand that issue better.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Guads.
Yeah. One of our next meeting, board, if the board has any legislative proposals that we want to submit to the South Carolina School Boards Association, that would be for the 2023 legislative session. And also, if we have any modifications to the South Carolina School Boards Association constitution. And I know both of those things are normally due on June 15th. And we're probably going to need Lynn Stokes-Murray assistance like we've had her help us in the past. So we don't have much time really for that.
Okay, so noted. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other future agenda topics?
I'd like to.
Mel, is
also-
your mic on? Okay.
I think it is.
Okay,
The
go
blue
ahead.
lights. I'd like to revisit the board diversity training program that Colonel Geyer introduced to us in August. I'd like for us to look at that as a discussion so we can set a time or a date, maybe in the new year, in which we can have a diversity training.
Okay. Any other future topics?
Yes, the terms of discussing we having a conversation with the Realtors Association and the chambers,
Any others? Okay. So we have no announcements.
yeah, we do.
Uh,
I do have an announcement.
okay.
Actually, I have an announcement. I would like to, as a board member, recognize all teachers and let teachers know as a board member that I do appreciate them. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. And, without the teachers, it would be no us. And so I just want to let teachers know from the bottom of my heart, I believe everybody on this board, we consent that we appreciate you. We thank you for everything that you do, whether it's small or big, whether it's seen or not seen, because we know teachers invest a lot of their personal times in what they do. And so we just want to let teachers know that we do appreciate you. And with that, we'll see you at the top because the bottom is definitely too crowded. We appreciate you, teachers. Thank you.
Yep. Dr. Rodriguez.
Yes, Mr. Smith, great job. I was going to recognize in Teacher Appreciation Week and our teachers, but in addition to that, I also want to just thank the Hilton Head Symphony Orchestra, CEO Alan Jordan, Maestro John Morris Russell. Last week, they had an event where they hosted Hilton Head Island IB Elementary, Hilton Head School for the Creative Arts. In addition, they hosted Red Cedar Elementary and Joseph S. Shanklin Elementary for an interactive program with our students. We appreciate the partnership and their willingness to engage with our students in our schools, and wanted to just make that announcement and thank them for that.
Thank you. Okay. So we are down to adjournment. So moved. All right. Thank you, everybody.